I want to have the peace more than the money. I want to code for the joy of coding, not for the sake of what money it pays to me.
That's beautiful.
I run a company called Thrymr Software, and I have been running that for almost 14 years now.
Amazing.
I love to build things using software and technology, and that is what I have been doing for last 22 years in my career.
The question is, what do you want for you and your business? Because your wife and kids, as much as they love you, they don't really care as long as you're happy.
I tried working with 2 large companies, got fired both of the times from them.
Yeah.
I was a guy who will always say, this is wrong, let's fix it, this is wrong, let's fix it. And I'm the guy who will always disturb the equation because this is not the right, I need to optimize it. 7 out of 9 left.
Wow.
Right? For various reasons. And then we restructure, we build, and then the advantage of that is I became really profitable the next year. As earlier. So if I had not gone through that program of Stanford Seed, if I had not taken the business coaching, if I had not been in the therapy, I would still be struggling to make my payroll month on month, even though I'm running at a large scale. Business is not about building business. Business is about building you. Right? If you build yourself, you can build hundreds of businesses by default. That person was chasing money, that person was chasing fame, that person was chasing validation, that person was chasing stability. I don't resonate that with anymore, right? So I am going to rewrite my character.
Rishi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, when we met, was it this week, last week? I can't remember.
Last week, yeah.
I couldn't hear you fully because it was quite noisy, but I really enjoyed our conversation. And I thought, listen, I've got to get you on the show. But now that I've looked at your LinkedIn profile, even more so. So look, for the audience members that may not know you, can you give a quick intro and then we'll unpack your amazing journey thus far?
Cool. Thank you so much for having me here. And it's my pleasure to be here. A little bit of background about myself. So my name is Rishi Khare. I am 46 years old. I am born and brought up in India. I have moved to Singapore recently, although I have been running my company here for almost 7 to 8 years now. At the heart, I am a combination of 2 sides. So I have a little bit of artistic inclination in terms of writing, poetry, a bit of music, bit of art side of equation, but that is more on a personal side. But on a professional side, I am more of a coder, right? So I love to build things using software and technology. And that is what I have been doing for last 22 years in my career, right? So basically a builder using technology, building a lot of things. And the manifestation of that has been in multiple projects that I have done with multiple clients. And I have been running my own company, which does exactly the same thing. So I run a company called Thrymr Software, and I have been running that for almost 14 years now.
Amazing. Well, I want to go into that. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Dominic Juris, which is how we know each other. He's a dear friend of both of ours. So how did you guys meet? And what has your friendship and journey looked like?
Dominic is a very dear friend and also a very close guide and mentor to me. I met him a couple of years back in Fintech Festival in Singapore. So as you know, Fintech Festival Singapore is actually a big expo or a conference essentially. And Thrymr always had a booth in there. So we had set up a booth and I met Dominic there at my stall. And then we had a conversations about, Dominic's experience and background in the private banking sector and the ultra HNI wealth management sector. And then he had a lot of ideas, but he was basically thinking about how can I convert these ideas into an actual product that can help many more people and revolutionize the private banking industry or the wealth management industry. So we had a couple of more conversations following that, and then I went and met in his office. And obviously, when we were meeting it for the first time, Dominic had no idea about how the technology world works, and I had no idea about how the private banking and the wealth management sector works. Broad ideas, but slowly. So we started working together. A lot of ideas. Chris joined over the time, and then we built one of the best products in the world in terms of wealth management. And over the couple of years, we have won multiple awards. But more than the work, I think Dominic, Chris, and I, and have built a very personal friendship where we have been through multiple ups and downs of the journey. We have enhanced the product to multiple levels. We have raised multiple rounds of funding, and we are trying to reach more and more clients. So Dominic has guided and mentored me as a human, as a personal person. He visited our office in Hyderabad. He interacted with a lot of our friends there. And it's a lot more than just a professional relationship, I would say.
Same for me. And the one thing I think that he and I all have in common is we're a little bit of Renaissance men because we like many different things. You know, like as you just described, you know, when I talk to people, they always put themselves in a box. You know, is their approach scientific or is artistic? And I always feel the best of us can combine both worlds.
We can't even fit in one mold even if we tried to.
It's impossible.
It's impossible for us. We can't survive in that. We will, we can't breathe in that. We won't last. Right? We are, when we grew up in the world, our part of the world was the one which had a mix and blend of everything. We never chased identities while growing up. We were just living. We were playing out in the street, and we were playing for the sake of play, not to become the world-class cricketer at that age.
100%.
Right?
Just for fun.
Just for the fun we were playing. Just for the fun we were reading. We were not trying to become an ace, a SAT exam at that point of time, right? Or trying to score something. We were studying. We were enjoying. Thankfully, we grew up in an environment when there was no internet, no phone to disturb us in the childhood, and that I think helped us a lot.
I think, when it's sometimes because my kids always take the mick out of me. They say, "What was it like, Dad, when dinosaurs roamed the planet?" I said, I think in some ways it was a lot better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I want to unpack your journey and how you got into IIT, and I want to know all of that. But before I do, I want to ask you this one question. You've seen the movie Terminator.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen?
No, not Terminator won't happen. But something far worse can happen and something far better can happen. Right? Again, it depends on which path we actually choose to.
Yes.
Right? Terminator itself won't happen, but it may happen. So again, we always say that technology itself is not good or bad. It depends on who's using it, right? We say knife is neither good nor bad. You can chop veggies or meat, and you can chop people with that, depending on who's holding the knife, right? So same as with AI for that matter, right? I mean, AI is an amazing tool, and probably both good as well as bad people will use it. Which side uses it in the better way, and how collective intelligence of humanity steers, that will decide the future. But I am an optimist person, and following Star Trek, I think a die-hard fan of it. So I believe future is going to be very, very bright.
Who's your favorite character? It's Spock, isn't it?
Well, yeah, my friends call me Spock sometimes.
Do they? Okay. I can tell you're a Spock guy. Hey?
Yeah, no, but
So why was Spock?
But I actually like Jean-Luc Picard a lot more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Not that I'm a massive Star Trek fan, but why do you think Spock was not the captain? Why was Captain Kirk the captain?
Very interesting question, and I think I know the answer, at least what I personally believe. There is no need for everyone to be a captain, right? There is no need for everyone to be a first officer. There is no need for everyone to be the topmost thing, right? For me, what could be a topmost may not be the topmost priority for someone else, right? So, for example, Spock has independently done many captaincy requirements wherever is required, and so I think the other answer is the number one, right? For the Jean-Luc Picard was not Spock, the other guy, right? But he never took his own captaincy. He always worked under captain because he wanted to learn more from him. He let go of captaincy promotions multiple times in his journey, right? I think, right? So
William Shatner.
William, yeah. So he didn't do that, right? So point is that it depends on what you want.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you are not promoting yourself or you are letting go of chances. It is what you want at that point of in life. For example, there are a lot of people who, deliberately let go of the ambitious options.
Yes.
So you will see that happening in a lot of financial capitals of the world, right?
Correct.
Or even here in Singapore, right? People will quit high-paying jobs. They will go to Bali or somewhere in Thailand, pick a remote working job and just take a relaxed life.
Yeah.
They don't want to burn out. Does it mean that they are letting go of it? Not necessarily. It is what they want at that point in life. And I'm so glad that Gen Z nowadays has that clarity in their early 20s.
They can have that option.
They have options. They understand what is right, what is wrong from their point of view. They are no longer confined with the norms of the world that, okay, you have to have a house, a car and married and then fancy holidays in Europe, right?
Yeah.
If the peace for them means living a small life in a quiet life in a small town, they are more happy with that. And that kind of clarity is amazing.
If you think about when we were young, we were in our 20s, the concept of retirement then versus now is very different. Now you don't have to retire to one place. You could go do whatever you want.
100%. And I think the way I actually try to make sense of it, I compare it with my parents' generation to my generation and the kids which are coming now.
Yeah.
Our parents worked one job entire life,
Yes.
right? So they were always, they started with one company, one government organizations, one sector. They worked very diligently, very hard in their entire life in that. They never thought about a side hustle or this business, that business, all that. They just did one thing entire life, retired, and led a very predictable life because for them, stability was the
Was everything.
base.
Yeah.
Right? Because they couldn't afford to think anything more than the stability. They knew that if they can give their kids the best education, they would have done their job.
Did both your parents work in the public sector, is it?
My mom was a housewife, is a housewife actually. My dad was in bank. So it's a semi-government sector basically.
Because I was curious, and I'll come back to this later. I always find it interesting. I find a lot of entrepreneurs, their parents were entrepreneurs or their grandparents. Sometimes it's in their DNA.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately or fortunately, the community and the family that I belong to, we always focus on studies more.
Yes.
So we are always studies kind of people. Entrepreneurship is fairly new to us in my family, right?
But
so
you're setting the footprint.
yeah, I'm setting.
You
So
know?
for the people, kids downstream can actually pick it up. But I'm the first entrepreneur, and at least in the series of my family that I know.
I love it. Well, listen, going back, I want to close out this chapter about Kirk because again, it's not my thing, but I also think, look, the reality is, they created a TV show, and the truth is this: you had to have someone who was flawed, and Captain Kirk, he was a flawed guy. He had emotions, and that's what made it exciting, right? And quite often in leadership, you will have guys that are very stoic, making very sensible, rational decisions, but not everyone will follow them. Then you have guys that are a little bit outlandish, and that you will follow this guy into hell because he's got that leadership quality.
100%.
But the thing about William Shatner that I find so funny, because I find him hilarious in real life, but back in the day, he was so handsome and good looking. And now, old age has taken over all of us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you look at that Big Bang Theory episodes, they will bring one character every time and saying that, just buy me a food and we will do a Star Trek podcast at that. So yeah, no, those are funny. But I remember that, right? And then, but what I really love, the point you mentioned about stoic, if you really look at Jean-Luc Picard's entire series, I mean, I really love that the Next Generation series of the Star Trek. And then if you look at Jean-Luc Picard's, there are few episodes which are like, I think, classics, and they are like, then they should be taught in a classroom, right?
Which ones stand out? Can you remember?
There are a lot of them, right? So for example, there is an episode which is about gender identity, right? LGBTQ, like the whole thing. And that episode basically talks about that they enter a planet where there are no straight genders. There are only non-binary genders, basically.
Yeah.
And they see straight people as outcast. And when you are found, then you are taken to a medical treatment facilities and fixed.
Really?
Yeah. So then when you see that episode, then it flips for you. Then you understand what it is for the other person to do, right?
Yeah.
Right. Similarly, there is the best episode. I think the one of the episodes, I think it's the best love story ever anywhere, including all the movies and all the series and all the books I have seen.
Really?
Yeah, there is an episode called The Metamorph.
Okay.
Okay, so this episode is about that there is a planet where, there are people who are born once in a million kind of a population. But those people who are born, they have this ability that they can become a perfect partner for someone.
Wow.
Exactly, think like you go to a AI, machine with some sort of a setup where, you can say, I want a person who has this level of empathy, this kind of knowledge, these hobbies, and you can mate to specification kind of an order, right?
I love it.
So that kind of a person is born once in a century or generation. And then what is happening is there are these two planets which are at war, and one of the metamorph born at this planet is being married to the king of the other planet. So the captain has a job to transport this lady from here to there. And now in this process, the metamorph falls in love with the captain.
Wow.
Captain falls in love with the girl, but the duty does not allow them to part away, and then they move. But the way it is beautifully picturized what it means to be in love,
Yeah.
right? And what is love essentially.
Yes.
I think that's the best love story ever.
I love that. I'm going to check that
You
episode
should
out.
definitely check that out. There are multiple episodes. What it means to be conscious. What does it mean to be, sentient?
Yeah.
What is sacrifice, etc. What is torture, war?
Yeah.
What is the ethics in the war?
Yeah.
Right. So when you are captured at a different side and how they treat you.
Well, that's the thing, like you grow up, I grew up in the UK, and how much of it is propaganda. You watch a movie from one side, and in fact, if you step into the other side, like the Vietnam War is a good example. Then you go to Vietnam, you realize these guys were ingenious. That what they created, they were, it's very different. There's this saying that I love, which is, what you observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed through your method of questioning. So the reality is how you view the world through the glasses, the lens, it changes everything. So context is everything.
And then we always say that a story, if the tiger could write the story of a hunt, you will have a very different picture.
Very true. Actually, I don't know if I told you this when we met, but so I grew up in Southall, which is Little India in the UK, which is a migrant area.
I know Southall.
So of course you know Southall.
Everyone knows.
So on my street, this will really make you laugh. There were 110 houses. There were only 2 non-brown families. There was a Jamaican family and my family. And that's why when you talk about colors and every Sunday, I would see all these beautiful saris flying.
So you are about 80% Punjabi.
90%.
90%.
And my first long-term girlfriend was Punjabi. And people would say, why? I said, well, that's what I grew up with, right? There were not many options. But actually I have to say that my parents' generation of Indians, they were very stoic and they were very staunch. They had the same traditional values when they left India. And actually the reality is over time, if you go to India now, everyone's somewhat a little bit more relaxed. So it's changed. But so for example, with my first girlfriend, we couldn't walk holding hands down the street in Southall. There would be too many problems, legitimately. So things change. But what I love about Singapore, it's a melting pot.
Singapore is amazing. Yeah. I really love it, right? I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but obviously you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
No one questions you. And the whole city is designed for livability.
Yes.
It's very costly.
Yeah.
That goes without saying, but the vibe, the feeling, the opportunities, the growth options, potentials, and the thought that goes behind designing a life, right? Singapore and the founders of Singapore, LKY and people downstream, they have built it in such a way that, city gives you all the building blocks and then you can make what you want to make on top of it.
Yeah.
That's really, really
But it's
amazing.
very clever because if you think about the whole HDB concept, they segregate how many people live together, what percentages, and that way you don't have too much cliquism. Otherwise, in most places, you will have just a collective group of people. And what that creates is a lot more internet. What I love is you go to a kopitiam and you'll see Indians eating Chinese food, Chinese eating Indian food. It's a real road jack, as they call it locally.
Yeah, I know. I'm not much idea about that. I've heard about the policies, but I personally, I feel that, growing up in India, we're kind of take this for granted.
Yeah.
Basically, right? So, I mean, we have 30 states and practically speaking, it's a combination of about 100 countries put together, right?
Crazy.
We have, more than 300 to 500 languages and then, many, many languages, many dialects, many conversations, we have a saying in Hindi, which basically means that kos pe pani badle teen kos pe pani, which basically translates into a language changes at every kilometer, and every 3 kilometers your water taste changes basically.
Amazing.
So something like that, right? So basically there's a lot of variation, and then amalgamation of cultures and things and all that is just the way life happens.
Yes.
So you get used to it, right? But I understand the way it is designed. I think people would have put some thought, but as the time goes, it needs to evolve with the current reality. So,
very true. Very true. Now, talk to me about how competitive it was to get into your university.
Amazingly competitive.
Because I've heard, share with people the stories, because I've heard, a lot of people commit suicide if they can't get in. I've heard that it's arguably the most strenuous of all programs globally.
It is one of the most strenuous ones, I would say. But I mean, if you look at India or China for that matter, right? I mean, China has a little less population now, but India has a very high population. right? And when you are growing up from a middle class or a lower middle class kind of a family, uh, the only opportunity you have to break the glass ceiling is good education, right? And when you say good education, the moment you get a brand, right? So IIT is basically a brand, right? And there are many other brands like that. So we have management institutes like which we call them IIM, Indian Institutes of Management. We have for law, we have national law schools basically. So basically in India has this thing where they you take certain institutes across India and you say that instead of running the education generally is run by state, but you say no, these institutes will be governed by central. And you give them huge amount of funding and you make them world class. So when IITs were set up, this was just post independence. So we have Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was our prime minister back then. He set up these institutes with collaboration with foreign countries. So IIT Kanpur was set up in a collaboration with US. Similarly, one was set up with Germany, another was set up with different countries, right? So about 5 or 6 of them were set up in collaboration with different countries, and then the style of teaching and the professors were transferred from the universities back here in early 60s or late 50s and something like that. So the curriculum, the culture, the things that got built based on that kind of scenarios. So the competition is very prestigious and it's very difficult and notorious, very complex to be cracked at that point of time. So getting in is very difficult, I think. But unfortunately, what has happened over the years is that it has become an industry in itself.
Yeah.
So there are whole companies, who provide coachings offline and online. You need to get into
Support that application.
support that application process, and then what happens in that scenario is that when parents, some of the parents over pressurize their kids, saying that you have to do it, and when the pressure becomes too much, sometimes kids commit suicide, right? It has become more prevalent now, relatively speaking. But there is even a darker side of the equation, which is a lot of people commit suicide after getting into the campus.
Really?
Yes.
Because they can't handle the intensity, or
They can't handle it, right? So the intensity inside is far worse than outside. Far worse.
Yeah.
Right? Because outside you are a college topper, you are a school topper, you have been, praised across.
But now you're
Now
swimming
you
with
are
the elite.
elite, and then it's very harsh, right? So it's a very harsh environment inside, and you are living away from family and you're getting exposed to an environment. So sometimes some of the kids are not able to cope up with stress, and there are other external factors also which vary from case to case. And all the institutes have facilities to provide counseling support. Things have become a lot better compared to past,
Yeah.
but still there is a very high rate of suicides compared to what it was back in my days.
The
I
problem
still
is
had it.
it's systemic though. The problem is it starts with the whole history. Like in Singapore, you got a PSLE at 11. So the kids don't even know what it is until they hear about it from the parents, the teachers, and before you know it, you've got 11-year-old stressed out kids.
I agree. I mean, somewhere there is a lot of pressure on kids to carry on the unfulfilled dreams of their parents,
Yeah.
and that has killed more kids than ever.
Yeah.
My daughter asked me sometimes, "What should I do with this and that?" I said, "See, my dad never told me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm never going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
My dad asked me where to pay the fee and how much. Same question I'm asking you, where to pay the fee, how much fee and where to pay it. And if you need my suggestions, I'm always there to give it to you.
I love that.
But don't ask me what to do with my career and
Yeah.
where to go. Your life, you decide. This is end of the day. You are mom, and I can only guide you
Yeah.
based on our experiences in life. But you need to build your own life,
I love that.
right? Because if I had built my life based on my parents' expectations, I would be doing something very different, and
Yeah.
I would not be happy.
Yeah.
Right? Today, I'm very, very happy.
Yes.
Right? Because I followed my own path. It worked somewhat. It didn't work somewhat. But I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to go to my grave worrying about what I didn't do.
That's a great philosophy and advice
Yeah.
for so many people to listen to. Actually, I'll share with you this one story. I told you my wife when I think it was her first day. It was either for her master's or PhD program. I think master's at Yale, and someone asked a question along the lines of, like, "What do we need to do to get an A and do really well?" And the lecturer, the professor said, "You don't need to worry about that. You already got into Yale. You're amongst the elite of the elite. Now it's about changing the world." changing the legal framework
I
and
really
enjoying it.
love it, right? I mean,
It's a great way to
great
approach
way.
everything.
And I think that is the value of top institutions,
Yeah.
right? When you go to those places and if you even end up interacting with one professor who feels something like this in your mind, the trajectory of your entire life changes from there onwards.
100%. You get to play.
You get to play, you get to think very differently. All of a sudden your focus goes away from A to, what do I do to change the world?
Yeah.
And you start thinking about impact, legacy, transformations, rather than just worrying about small things here and there and next paycheck.
What happened when you finished university? What was the next step for you?
I was a very confused soul back then. So when I finished the university, I didn't want to go for further studies. I was a bit tired of studies at that point of time. And I wasn't very clear about what else I want to do. I was very clear about I want to do entrepreneurship for sure. I want to have my own company. That was my dream since starting.
Tell me how did that come about? Because why I asked that, a lot of people always ask me, and in my humble opinion, what I see a lot of people doing is they lose their job and sometimes they go into business, but it's an afterthought. And I think 9 times out of 10, that doesn't last. That's my personal opinion.
I think my story goes something in the similar direction, but the experience came to me from my mama. Mama essentially is my mother's brother.
Okay.
So my mother's brother, he was younger to my mom, and he was a government officer in a department. Again, state level prestigious entrance exam, and he was head of a certain area and all that. And then later he had political fallout with someone else, and then he lost his job, and he was very much in trouble with that. And he had a very entrepreneurial mindset. So I spent some time with him. I lived with him for a while during one of my summer breaks. And then he instilled this in me, right? He said that, Rishi, whatever you do, whether you do a smallest venture, right? Don't worry about doing something big. If you do big, great. But try thinking and breaking off from this job mold, right? You are fortunate enough to get into IITs, you got education, and job is something you can get any point of time. You will always be having as a fallback if you want to. But you should start thinking that if you do entrepreneurship, this will change you, right? So my mama, this is what he gave me the mindset.
Lovely.
Right? See, saying that, you should think, and then, I mean, I had options, but I was thinking a lot of other things back then, go to US, do my master's, do a MBA, something like that, I was very clear that I did my BTech in aerospace. So I thought, I can't do masters and PhD and postdoc, and then at mid of 30s, I can start my career somewhere in NASA. I'm not that kind of a guy.
So you knew. So when you did aerospace, tell me more about what were you doing specifically?
Aerospace is a very, very nice branch. So you have about 4 years of studies. You understand all about, designing planes, flying planes. You do a little bit about rockets, engine. We also used to have our own airstrip within the college.
Really?
So we had 3 planes in there back then. So we used to go and become co-pilot. Like we just used to sit next to the pilots and fly those.
You mean you never took one of the planes up on your own?
Not on my
own. I would have
own.
done it, man. I would have done it, bro.
No. Why we couldn't do it? Because before each flying, we have to sign off saying that, to a president of India, we have to sign a declaration saying, if I die, no one is responsible. I'm going to die on my own, basically. So we used to have signed the waivers because we just very small 2-seater, 6-seater planes, Cessnas and Saratogas. But it was fun. 4 years, it was fun. There are a couple of my batchmates who have taken the full throttle. So one of my friends has become the director, very senior person, very senior scientist in DRDO. It's a government defense organization where you actually build missiles and whatnot. And then he has built systems which defend country as of today. So very proud of him. A couple of people who have become professors, who have gone to US, did their PhDs, and then they are professors now. But I think 70% of us have chosen something else.
So interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then, I was reading obviously about Elon Musk becoming the first trillionaire, and it was like, it's crazy. Even saying that in one sentence is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading this, I was watching this Charlie Munger's video about Elon Musk. I don't know if you had the chance ever got to see it. So he said that, Charlie Munger said that I want to work with the people who are not exceptionally bright, right? I want people who are predictably bright, so that people who are very, very bright, they will take a lot of unnecessary risks, and then it's very rare that all the risks work out for you, right? I mean, Elon Musk he sold his first company. All the money he's put it into two companies and lived by borrowing money from his friends. And then again, whatever he earns, again pulls it back. It's like, someone in a casino
Yeah.
rolling the dice again and again and
Yeah.
again. But I think his engineering intellect, his ability to see things from the first principles, and then the sheer grit, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not doing it for money. Let's be very
Yeah.
honest, right?
Yeah.
He has this very clear plan that I'm going to go on Mars. I'm going to go and build a colony there. I'm going to take the human civilization to the next level. And if you really look at all his companies, they all look very disjointed,
Yes.
but they are actually all working towards one goal.
Yeah.
Solar is all about building energy in the space. Uh, Tesla was, though, about self-driving, but it is basically about building robotics infrastructure which can actually go in space. SpaceX is again about building rockets, right? Twitter, I think, is the only off, and the only reason why he probably bought Twitter is so that he can control the narrative around his entire
100%.
equations, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, amazing, and I think this is just the starting point. SpaceX, and then all the companies. These are the new chapters, right? I mean,
They're being written right now in our lifetime.
our lifetime, right? We are the only generation. Again, I say this with a lot of pride and a lot of interest, right? I mean, there is this Chinese curse, may you live in interesting time, and we are living in interesting times, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are the only generation who lived completely offline. We didn't have cell phones. We lived, without phones. We grew up to 10, 12 years in that age.
Yeah.
And by the time we will die, we will be living amongst robots and space travel.
Yeah.
So much delta for one generation.
It's crazy.
No one before us ever had it. No one after us will ever have it.
I know. It's funny because we're the sandwich generation. I always say, like, what is new today is old tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's happening so quickly. So talk to me about your journey into entrepreneurship and what that looked like.
Very, very interesting. So after college, I worked for about a decade or so. I worked with various startups in Bangalore and in Hyderabad. I tried working with two large companies, got fired both of the times from them, royally, because I could not fit in the culture.
Yeah.
I was a guy who will always say, this is wrong, let's fix it, this is wrong, let's fix it. And the large companies are always about conforming into the identity, right? I mean,
Yes.
this is your bloody job, just do that and don't disturb the whole equation. And I'm the guy who will always disturb the equation because this is not the right. I need to optimize it, I need to fix it.
I love it.
I need to take it to the next level. So I got fired royally from two of the companies, and then I got bored and then moved on. So then about a decade or so, one fine day I said, okay, yaar, I don't feel like going to job tomorrow. So I just resigned and I sat at home. And I didn't know what to do. So I just sat at home.
How old were you at the time?
I was in my mid 30s, early 30s.
Did you tell anyone or you just made that decision on your own?
No, I never told anyone.
Yeah. Me too. Same. I love that.
Yeah, because my parents never interfered. My wife said, okay, do whatever the fuck you want. Don't bother and don't disturb me. So I was like, yeah, I just sat home and then I decided what to do. So I helped my company. I told my boss that I'm moving on and I'll do something else of my own this time. He said, okay, fine, all the best. And then we helped to find another person, transitioned it off, and I moved out. And then I sat at home. I was thinking about what to do. And then a couple of days later, I had a knock on my door. So I said, it was my co-founder. He was not my co-founder back then. He was just an employee in my previous company.
But you knew him. You were friends.
So I hired him in my previous company.
Okay.
In this company, Data Expert, I was working with it. So I hired him there. He worked with me for about a year and a half. I left the company. I was sitting at home, and this guy Buta is so he knocks basically the door. He said, what happened? I said, he said, I also came. Like, what do you mean by came? I resigned. I got relieved. I'm here. Let's work. Really, just straightforward.
This guy's a gangster. I love it.
He just said, okay, I'm done. I moved out. I want to work now. Let's build something.
Was he similar age?
No. He's a lot more junior to me.
Okay.
Right. So he was, about 4 to 6 years younger to me. 4 years younger to me, and he just moved out. And funny thing, he was just got married like a couple of months back.
Okay.
Still, he said, I am also out. I want to work for you. I said, come, what today? So we never discussed about anything. No equity, no work, no salary, nothing. Let's start building together. So we started building together. About a year, we worked on multiple product ideas. We were trying to revolutionize the healthcare back then, and guys fresh out of college, not fresh out of college, fresh out of job, basically, with bit of experience in terms of how to build things, but no experience in sales, no experience in marketing, no experience in distribution, unit economics, and all that. Coders, we know how to build.
Yeah.
Rest we don't know. So
Yeah.
we were trying to learn on the job, and we were very innovative. We built a very nice product. But when we took it to the market, we realized that we are a lot ahead in the time, right? So what we were trying to build is we were trying to build an ecosystem for healthcare providers. So we wanted to combine hospitals, clinics, diagnostic centers, pharmacies, pharma companies, everything put together. And we wanted to become the backbone of data. This was 2013, where we said that in India, everyone is fragmented and operates in silo. We will build a core system where entire data passes through us, and people will be able to build their own products on top of our system. So we didn't know what APIs were back then, but we wanted to say that our visualization was like to become a platform, and on our APIs the world will work. So we tried to build it, but then obviously we fall flat because market was not ready for that. Market isn't ready for that kind of thing even now, because we in India we don't have a healthcare related legislation which mandates that you need to have a data stored somewhere. We are still working for it. Decade back we were still working on the legislation, is still not passed yet. So learned very hard way that this will not work in this market, and then we started doing services. So I picked up a consulting job. So I used to work in 2 shifts in starting. I'll go to my office around 7:38. I'll work there till 10. I'll go to this consulting job. I'll work there till 5, 6. I'll come back to my office. I'll work there till 10,
Wow.
9, 10. And then 2 shifts I ran for about a year or so. And we used to work every Saturday and Sunday also, most of them. And that went on for about a year. And then that allowed us to boot the company. So we hired a couple of guys. We started getting projects. I started building more and more. Then after a year, I quit the consulting job, started focusing on this full time. Then we started building more and more, and moved to a proper office, then moved to hiring more people.
Were you all self-funded at this point?
I'm still self-funded.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I
I
love it.
can't
Me
have
too.
an investor sitting on my head telling me what to do.
That's what people don't realize, because for me, it's like, then you've got another boss.
That is exactly the reason. I had multiple acquisitions offers along the line. I had multiple funding options along the line. I still get a job offer every 6 months to 3 months, right? Which makes me question my existence. Like, what the hell am I doing with my own company?
No, but that means they may not know what you're doing.
No, they know everything.
They know.
These are all very close friends, right? So when
really?
you work for a decade or so, you know everyone in the city, right? And then these are most of the friends and mentors and people who are running much larger companies, listed companies, much bigger companies than mine, and they always see a place for me in their ecosystem, saying that if I go and join them, I can actually do a lot more impact in the larger part of the equation. And I really sit with that idea for a short while, then I realize
No, man.
I can't do this.
No.
So
You've found your calling.
Yeah. I want to have the peace more than the money.
Yeah.
Right. I want to have the ability to shut down the shop and go home and sleep, rather than worrying about where is the next dollar going to come for the shareholders' value.
Yeah.
Right. Survival is taken care of. Beyond that, whatever we make is great. I mean, I want to code for the joy of coding, not for the sake of what money it pays to me.
That's beautiful.
Right? Because as a builder, that is what you do. When you create a painting, you create it because you want to create the painting, not that how much money it fetches. Because then you will go out and compare, oh, here are 20 more paintings. This star got the painting, this got this much amount of money. I can copy that artist. Then you are not an artist. You are a photocopy machine.
Yeah, I love it. You're Xerox.
You are Xerox, basically. That doesn't add any value for you, right? But if you really want to add value, you have to be original and authentic.
I love that. What does the business look like today?
Business is nice. I mean, we are about 100 plus people trying to learn a lot of AI, adopt a lot of AI in the workflows that have. These are challenging and testing times for us because...
Well, how do you learn AI? Because if you think about it, it's so new. How do you dive into it? I'm curious.
It's exactly the same. How would you learn anything else?
Yes.
Right? If you want to learn a foreign language, for example, you need to go to that place and start speaking it. No matter how many books you buy, you can never learn from the books. Right? Similarly, in our technology world, we say that the best way to learn code is to code. Right? You start programming. When you start programming, you will start building internal mental models, and then you will be able to do a lot more with that. Same as with AI. The best way to learn AI is to start using it. When you use it more and more, you will become better and better in that. Right? And the good thing about AI is that there is no barrier to entry.
Yes.
All you need is a bit of subscription and talking in your native language. You don't even need to know English about it.
You know, the way I see it is that AI has to have a seat at your board table. You know, when you think about that, if you don't have it included, you're already behind the game. But the scary thing that I see now is this: a lot of the younger guys that work for me, they only go on dates through apps. So I was saying, how are you engaging with that girl or that guy? And I said, oh, you're all fucked. What do you mean? You're going to the phone. How do I chat her up? And look on your phone, right? And then you send a message. Then the girl is saying, how do I respond to this? You might as well put the two phones together.
So funnily enough, I have seen one of the projects where one guy hacked some of the dating apps.
Yeah,
He plugged the dating apps to a large language model,
yeah,
and he said that, okay, you run this whole thing on my behalf.
yeah.
And then he got about 500% or 1000% more responses and more matches because the AI is running the whole stack for him.
Naisha, if you're listening to this, this is one of my colleagues. He wants to find a husband on this.
Right?
Really?
Yeah, no, you can run that. But the problem is that, this is not going to take you anywhere, right? I mean, this is more like what we call as in our marketing parlance, a lead gen engine, right?
Yes.
So you can end
A
up
lead gen
having
engine.
thousands of leads, but
Yeah.
how many conversions will you get? Because the moment you sit next to the person,
That's right.
and you have just had a coffee or a
Yeah.
drink, right? And 20 minutes, you will know he's not the person I've been talking to for such a long time.
100%.
The facade drops off and you go away. Its only question is how long it takes for the facade to drop off.
You know, this is crazy. So that night where we met, a few people came up to me and introduced themselves, and I didn't recognize them because their LinkedIn picture looked very different.
100%. People will put AI to put that, right? In dating. People have been doing it using the Photoshop days, right? We all have, done a little bit of funny things with that, right? So, I mean, we always have that tendency in terms of relationship, but I would still say that, okay, it's okay to meet people by whatever means you meet them, right? Whether it's a business, you meet them through LinkedIn, or you meet them through a conference, or in dating, people are meeting through apps and, cultures and mixers and all that. And then world will find an equilibrium around that, right? I mean, there are a lot of companies are being set up which allow people to meet offline. So someone will do a curated matchmaking, and AI is actually helping a lot in that. So you build your persona, you tell this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is who am I, and then AI is actually matching people based on the interest. And instead of giving you a volume left and right swipe, you're going and meeting people and building a lot more meaningful friendships and relationships out of it. So
It is interesting.
it's interesting, but again, the point will remain same that, okay, now the lead is generated. What more than that you can do?
Yeah.
How will you really go and build your relationship?
You know, there was this thing, I forget what it was called, when I was living in the US, and it was a website for married couples that wanted to cheat on their spouse. The name will come back to me. And the whole construct was, well, I can have an affair with that married woman and she's got as much on the line so no one will find out. But the funny thing that turns out was the men that were on it, 90% of the time were talking to robots, and they were using credits. So, this woman's writing back to you and you've got to spend more credits to have more interaction with her. And at the end of the day, the question is, who are you really talking to?
Those are classic scam business models which work in various ways in many places, right? I mean, long back when you used to have the dial-up phones, you would see the advertisement in the newspaper, call to talk, right? And you will have people sitting and talking, and you are paying a lot of money for that kind of premium voice lines and whatnot. So business models have existed; they will keep on evolving based on the technology.
100%. We'll talk about business models. When you went into business, no one will tell you this until you're in it. You realize, well, now I become a business development sales guy. I've got to think about distribution, marketing. What was that journey like?
Oh, that has been a very fantastic and very grueling journey. Like it has not been a kind one, right? So, being a builder, that part came very naturally. The moment you are sitting with the client, what they want, we were able to deliver more than what they asked, right? And we were able to guide them, nurture them, be their technology partner, build technology for them. Based on the technologies that we have built for customers, they have gone to the next level. So, for example, we worked with one of the logistics company. This is one of the top most logistics company. They are publicly listed in India now. And what we built for them back in 2017-18, based on that, they were able to raise $200 million fund from SoftBank.
Amazing.
Right? So this was basically the entire route planning engine where you have multiple trucks, drivers, distributors, and we used to go on maps, find out real-time traffic information, and then optimize the entire process and then track it and then generate reports and all that. Right? So we built all this kind of, things for multiple clients, and building always came naturally to us. But the sales, the marketing, the money aspect of the business, that was not natural to us,
Yeah.
right? And it was not natural to us for a very long period of time. And and what we were also doing is we were spreading ourselves too thin. So I was running this company, and then I was doing a joint venture with another company in Germany. Then I was also doing, within the company we started one more company,
It's a lot.
and to focus on a certain type of a product, and we spread ourselves too thin, right? And we had a lot of conflicting priorities. And then we opened 3 branches within India, and we were hiring a lot of people because on anticipation without actually calculating how much we need. And we were in trouble, basically, right? And thankfully, by God's grace, we ended up joining this program called Stanford Seed.
Okay.
So Stanford University runs this program called Stanford Seed, which is basically an amazing program for SMEs, where they assign a mentor to you, and the mentor comes to your office and works with you.
Wow.
And the fee is very, very less because it's a subsidized program. And then they run specific cohorts for different regions. So there's one chapter in Africa, one chapter which runs in India, basically India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, this kind of APAC region put together. So we were selected in that. In 2023, we went through the learning.
Beautiful.
So this program. And then there is another business coach called Rajiv Talreja in India. He's a very, very amazing business coach. So Stanford Seed gave us the theoretical aspect at the top level. What is an ICP? What is a marketing? Why we should do it? What is a BMC model, right? So fundamentals, being a technique, programming, but you don't know that the org design principles, the one which you applied in design, and the architecture principle which you apply while designing a software are also applied while designing an organization. The way you design an interface that, okay, how will your UI will talk to your backend, similarly are applied in an org design with how your HR team will talk to your management team, or how your engineering team talks to marketing team or sales teams, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you distribute, how do you track, how do you operationalize, how do you make sense of numbers, right?
The granular side.
Granular sense. So Stanford Seed taught us at the top level, like theory and some practical aspects and a lot of mentoring. And then the Rajiv Talreja's coaching taught a lot of practical tips, what works in Indian cultural context.
Well, that's very important because then you're learning top down, bottom up. You need both.
You need both, right? So we learned with Rajiv all the ways up, right?
Wow.
Operations, how to manage operations, how to focus on
with
this.
with the Indian business coach, but how did you identify him?
Instagram. So
And that was it.
yeah, that's what it is. So
Social media.
he
is
was
powerful,
running.
man.
He was running, campaigns, and I used to follow him on that. And then we joined
love
his
that.
one program, then next program, then next program.
So powerful.
So multiple tiers, and then end of the day there was a coaching. So we enrolled for the coaching also, and then 1 year we dedicated only for learning.
So I'll jump in. So because I reached an inflection point in 2022 where I was thinking, what do I want to do next? And the thing is, I run the business on my own. I had a business partner, still one of my best friends, but I bought him out. And then I went to see this guy called Patrick Bet-David, and I went to a conference in Miami. And then he asked a lot of provocative questions to really make you think. And I came home and I created a 110-page PowerPoint presentation for myself, which I've not actually shown anyone, not even my wife. And it really started with the family. What did I want for them? And I did all of that. And I realized, you're asking the wrong question, Paul. The question is, what do you want for you and your business? Because your wife and kids, as much as they love you, they don't really care as long as you're happy. So then I thought, I want to do things that are meaningful. I want to adapt. I want to switch things up. And that's where the genesis of my coaching online platform and this came about. Because before that, I was doing the same thing. So I want to get some takeaways that you learned from this coach.
So not only coach, right? So I'll just talk a little bit about coaching here also, because I have gone through very similar journey, right? So I told you that, we were doing so many things, and then by doing Stanford Seed and then going through coaching, and then I also went to therapy basically. So I spent a lot of money and effort and time in fixing myself, right? Both professionally as well as personally.
Thanks for sharing that, by the way. I love that.
So I learned a lot of things from that part. And then the point which you rightly made, if you are not happy, you can't do any shit.
Yeah.
Right? Part of building business, which you learn a lot later, is that you need to build yourself, then the business automatically gets built.
Love that.
Right? If you can't build yourself, business is never going to build.
Yeah.
You will never be able to scale the business.
You've got to master yourself first.
Right. If you fix yourself, business automatically gets fixed. right? So the part of building businesses, you are actually building yourself. If you build yourself, business will automatically take care of itself. So again, very similar journey. Me and we founder, we were running two companies, so we split it out, and then we said, okay, let's focus on one company each and go our own ways in a very amicable way, and then removed focus on non-performing projects, focused a lot more on sales and marketing, restructured the company, closed down one of the branches. A lot of and the changes were not easy. I mean, there was a lot of revolt in my core leadership team.
I bet.
I had about 9 people who had been with me throughout the journey of almost a decade. 7 out of 9 left,
Wow.
right? For various reasons. I mean, again, still a good friends with them. I helped them to go to different companies, still meet for coffee and all that. But the paths were not aligned anymore. And then we restructured, we built. And then the advantage of that is I became really profitable the next year. Right, I
So
set up an
interesting.
advisory board. I set up met with certain customers, let go of certain projects and all that, and then the journey of growth has started now. It is very different from where it was earlier. So if I had not gone through that program of Stanford Seed, if I had not taken the business coaching, if I had not been in the therapy, I would still be struggling to make my payroll month on month, even though I'm running at a large scale. And I would be chasing mindless growth at that point of time.
So fascinating. So give me a few takeaways, if you may, that you learned, that you implemented into streamlining the business.
Um, First of all, you need to have a very good clarity about compartmentalizations in the business. So it goes back to the systems thinking principles, basically, right? So you have multiple department, multiple peoples, and they have certain set of responsibilities. And as you rightly, you made a PowerPoint for your own life. Your company has to have a thesis of why it exists and why you have multiple systems and how they come together. So
Yeah.
the moment you don't put it in your head, when you put it in writing, then you are able to tell how it works. That's
Love
one
that.
thing. Second thing is culture is extremely important. If we are working with people, if you are solo, it's okay. You have your head, which is clear. But when you need to tell people what is that you are okay with and what is that you are not okay with, and there is no universal line about it, right? Some people are okay with something, some people are not okay with something. So for example, there are a lot of people who are very environment friendly and they won't allow a plastic in your office also, for that matter.
Yes.
Right, and there are some people who don't care about that, right? I mean, I need to make profits and I'm burning fossil fuel and doing what in my factory, I don't care. So there is no right or wrong, but you need to know where your values are and where your ethics are and where your value propositions are, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate. But how do you tell it to your employees? You tell it in terms of stories. So I have a book of about certain number of stories, and I give it to my employees saying that read those stories, or I tell them those stories in the meetings.
Are
and
they your
conference.
stories that you wrote down? Or,
Some of them are based on real incidents, some of them are imaginary, some of them are part imaginary, part
and
real.
this is an in-house book.
In-house things. So we tell
I
them.
love it, mate. I'm
So
going to
we-
adopt this. Come on, tell me.
So we call it culture's charter, essentially, or stories through culture.
Culture's charter. Wow.
And we tell them that this is how it is, right? So what it means to take ownership, for example. So if I tell you in terms of, okay, take more ownership, I don't know what this mean, right? But when I say that, okay, so for example, one of the things I say is that, anytime you are sitting in a business meeting, and sometimes clients can get aggressive, right? They can shout at you and then do what at you. So I say that, no matter what, whether it's a client or an internal employee, no one has a right to be disrespectful towards anyone.
Yes.
You can stop doing business. You can say, I'm not liking this anymore, fix it. I can be very angry with an employee and say that, angry is not the right term, but I can be very disappointed and say that I'm not liking your performance and I don't want to work with you anymore. I can terminate the person, but I can't disrespect him, right? This is one of the culture values. But how do I demonstrate? I tell him that, okay, this person did a mistake, but I said that it's not working out. Let's be friends, blah, 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 move on, right?
Yeah.
So the stories, culture stories are a very interesting part of the equation. Also, I think what I learned is the growth at all the cost is not something which I was chasing earlier, but later I realized that growth at all cost is not the right strategy.
Yeah.
You need to spend a lot of time perfecting one unit economics model right. Once that model is right and you have scaled it in a certain level, then you should start thinking about scaling. The biggest killer for a startup is to trying to scale very fast or grow very fast.
Yeah.
So I've seen again a mistake with a lot of companies I have worked with is that they try to build too much too soon. So in our software world, what we say is that everyone start thinking in terms of features, right? I'm trying to launch a new ERP for, let's say, logistics. I want to cram it with hundreds and thousands of feature. This software, that software, I'll copy it all. No. First, see what is one core business problem you are trying to solve for your customer, which no one else solves right now, or at least not in the right way. Solve that problem, take it out to the customer, take some money for it. The proof is in the pudding. If someone is willing to pay you the money for that problem solution, you have hit the nail.
Yes.
Right? If many a times you will end up solving problems for which no one, those may not be a problem for people, or they may not be willing to pay for it what you imagine. Right? So let's say if I'm going to create a new tool which allows me to schedule interviews in a very automated sort of a manner, and I say, yeah, it is actually a genuinely problem, this and that and all that. But I go to a company has, 30, 40 employees, you hire 5 people a year. For you, it's a 2 minutes job. You don't need a software to solve that problem.
Correct.
Right. And if I go to a 100,000 people company, they already got a dedicated department which does recruitment and do that. So they may not want it. So building without actually validating the problem, or at least solving the problem in a small way, and then trying to ensure whether a business model exists for this problem, is usually a big disaster. Right. And also I have learned one thing which true in some cases, not in AI cases, for example, is that funding part of it.
Yes.
Right. Investor love to fund which is already successful.
Yeah.
No one has, or very few people have an appetite to spend for an actual research and actual innovative product.
Correct.
Right. Today, if you go to, you'd say I'm an Anthropic, and then no one in the world will say no to invest in you. But 10, 15 years back, if you say I started a research company where we were trying to build a healthcare related AI. This was again back in 2017, 18. And we didn't raise funds. We couldn't raise funds because we realized that it is so massive.
Yeah.
It takes so much amount of data and labeling and humans and machines and training that, it's not easy for a small company to build it.
The challenge therein lies, because I talk to, most of my clients are large corporates, and I speak to a lot of people, and there is a lot of validity in being an entrepreneur as opposed to an entrepreneur. But when you're an entrepreneur and it's your own money, then everything changes. And I don't care what anyone says. They say, I spend my money, the company's money like it's my money. Let me assure you, you don't. And when you're going all in and it's your own money, it's very different. And it takes a lot of courage,
I agree. I've been through that route, and I'll tell you something which I have learned over a long period of time in that also. There is a very thin line being a genius and a fool, right? So you have to be crazy like Elon Musk that you made $200 million, you invest everything, and then you borrow money from your friends to pay the rent, right? And Elon Musk could afford it. A normal guy cannot, right? I never encourage founders to bring their, mortgage their home and put the money in the business.
Yeah.
Especially if it is your first venture.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of people who will, mortgage the home, put the wife's jewelry in collateral, take loan, invest. Never, ever do that.
Yeah.
You are better off buying a lottery ticket and winning that rather than being successful in entrepreneurship. It is not possible. Take some money, right? I'm not saying that, you should not invest in your own startup, but please understand that entrepreneurship is not as rewarding as it seems from outside.
Yeah.
I was part of a co-working space when I started my company, and I had about 100 companies in that space. It's a very small space, about 500 seats or so. And then we were inside a campus institute. About 80% of them are not existing anymore, maybe 90% of them.
I see it all the time. I see it all the time. And the one thing I've learned about business, like in life, is you have to have the grit and determination to stay. You can outwork people, but there's a direct correlation between entrepreneurship and my hairstyle. That's the reality. But you know what? The thing is, for those of us that are built for it, it wouldn't change it. Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately, that's what we want to. We want the creative freedom to do what we want to do.
100%, right? I mean, if you have a conviction, you know it is going to work out, then okay, by all means take the risk. But sometimes what I have seen is that young kids and people with one job and
Yeah.
small kids at home and family being dependent on it. I've seen them getting ruined because of their
Yeah.
entrepreneurship stints, basically,
Yeah.
and
And that's the
that's
word.
not
They are ruined,
true.
and then they come out on the wrong side of it in many different ways.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about AI and war and how you see the future of this, because it can go in either direction, maybe both. It's scary.
It is, right, and this is the future, right? I think again, following Star Trek, timelines, we will be heading to the Third World War after some period of time, and
Yeah.
then it would be devastating, but probably, hopefully, humanity will recover after that. So there's a lot of hope, but we're just talking about autonomous weapons, basically, and then see what we see in public now. For example, all these advanced Gen AI models and AI models and all that. Uh, this is what we know in public,
Yeah.
but we always know that defense follows a lot of ahead of the curve technologies which we don't know, right?
For
So,
sure.
right, so defense or research in some areas might be already 20, 30 years ahead of what we know in public. There must be swarms of robotic armies sitting somewhere in the ground basements, and we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So again, it falls back to people who are controlling it, right? I mean, if you are a Hitler, you will use the technology to kill people, and if you are someone else, maybe like in India, we never went out and attacked any other countries. We are always about defending ourselves.
Yes.
So then you use it technology for defending ourselves, and you are not out there to conquer the world or kill other country and people and things
Yeah.
like that.
It's so interesting. And the other thing I want to ask you, do you service many different sectors?
I do, right?
You
I
do,
mean,
right?
Yeah, I do. I work with many different sectors, but I do primarily work with fintech, insurance, and logistics and supply chain. These are the three of the main areas.
And what about culturally? Like, because you've worked with different types of organizations of different nationalities. I always find it fascinating because, like in Singapore, I've worked with many different types of organizations, local, foreign, American, whatever it is. And they are all a little bit different. But I love people that want to push the boundaries, because I hate to say it, in many chunks of business, for example, in private banking, I feel there's a lot of mediocrity, right? And then you have a few outliers, and I love the outliers that really try and do things. And I always say this: the dichotomy of being a CEO in a private bank today, for example, or most organizations, is you've been asked to grow a business for the next 5 years, but you'll be measured quarterly, and you can't do both easily. So if you look at Amazon and what Bezos is doing, he doesn't measure and manage what he's doing next year. He's trying to build something 5 years down the line. But what's your experience about working with different types of companies?
A very, very interesting point. I think I'll talk a bit more about pressure and growth, right? I mean, that's the reason I don't personally. Again, I'm speaking nothing against those who do. Is I don't want to take funding. I
Yeah.
want to keep the ability to grow on my own. But again, it varies from people to people and how do they want to do. And every company, every person, every culture has a different perspective about it. But I'll coming back to the way of working in different countries and different customers. I have seen a lot of it, right, in the last 14 years. And frankly, that has been the most rewarding part about the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Money you make is fine, but how you expand and grow as a person, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. I was before that I was just a coder sitting in a company corner, working on my keyboard and then happy, right? But I had no exposure about how the Germany market works, for example. So I did a joint venture with a company in Germany, and I went and lived in Hamburg for about a year. And we built,
Really?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's a beautiful place. I still miss. So where I used to live, there was a bakery next to my house, and about 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, the smell of the freshly
It would hit you.
it hits you, and it's
Boom.
amazing, right? And I'm an Indian, so I have grown up drinking tea, but I learned to drink coffee there, and then I have converted half, right? So at least before 4 p.m. I always have coffees, and after 4 p.m. I switch to tea. But it changes you as a person, right? And then I loved my German partners. They taught me how to drink coffee, and then enjoy the different kind of food and cultural nuances, right? So for example, in Indian or in Asian context, we have three ways of conversation, right? Uh, in Hindi, we call it Abhidha, Lakshana, and Vyanjana, which translate very loosely in English when we say what is actually written, then what is in between the lines,
Yes.
and what is not in the lines.
Subtext.
So yeah, which is not there, right? So when you are saying what is direct, what is not written but assumed, and then what you are not writing at all but you need to infer.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, in Asian cultures, we avoid offending anyone. We say
Yes.
that, if you don't like someone's work, we say that, okay, we will get back to you. We typically never say no to a person who has come to an interview, for
Yes.
example, right? Or in India, again, if you are not taking a deal, you will not say no to it. You will say, okay, I'll get back to you, but you don't tell that negatively in that sense. German culture was very shocking to me when I actually landed there. Everything is straight.
Yes. Straight
Right?
laced.
Very straight.
And yes is yes and a no is a no.
Yes is yes, is a no. So initially it feels very much burden to you,
Yeah.
because you get offended for a while, and it takes a while. But when you realize and you have lived there, you realize, oh, this is a far better way of existing, because you can turn off 3 sub-processors in your background, and you can
save a lot of time.
Save a lot of time, right? So that changes the perspective, right? Completely.
You know, on this point, I always say this. I'm so glad you touched upon it. So in the first 7 years I lived in Singapore, I didn't understand yes is actually no. So I explained to my sales guys, listen, your job is to bring the no forward and let them know it's okay to say no. Then we can move on.
Then
if it is a no, right?
It's a no, you can move on.
It's fine.
Another part of I've understood is that, certain countries are very relationship driven.
Yeah.
Certain countries are very value driven.
Yes.
Certain countries are very religion driven, right? So in Germany, it's a very much, or EU for that matter, is a very relationship driven. If you have built a relationship, it is like, my grandfather was your grandfather's lawyer, my father was your father's lawyer, I am your lawyer, and my son will be your son's lawyer. Like, relationship spans generation from that matter, and someone else comes and offers you $30 less per hour price, you are not going to switch for that.
Yeah.
Right? Certain markets are very, very quick to make decisions, right? So US, you go, you prove your value. Even if you are an unknown person, they will work with you.
Yeah.
I have to give it to the US market,
You
right?
have to just deliver.
Just deliver, and people take risk.
Yeah.
They have a very high risk appetite,
Yeah.
provided you can show that you will deliver value.
That's what I love about it.
So US is a very, very business friendly and very innovative country because for that kind of a matter. Singapore, I really love because the rules are very strict here.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to chase an invoice.
Yeah.
You just say an invoice gets paid to you.
I don't know. Some of my clients, they pay me 3 or 4 bloody months late, mate.
Okay, so you need to learn. So there is a thing called a letter here, right? Asking for a recovery, recovery, right? Request for payment, something like that. You ask your lawyer to send $100. They charge $200. They'll send that letter. You send the letter in morning. The payment will be in by evening.
Really?
Yeah. I've tried it twice here.
Okay.
It worked almost every time flawlessly.
Really?
Right.
I'm gonna
but
do that.
India, I have to do every project 3 times, right? I have to, when I'm winning the project, I have to do a lot of effort. Then while delivering, and then chasing the payment.
But but will the organization, will they be upset with you that you're the lawyer sending a letter?
Yeah, they will be a bit.
But
your payment is never gone.
Yeah.
In Singapore, your payment is never gone. You will always get it.
Yeah.
The legal framework is very, very strong.
Yeah.
Everyone follows laws.
That's the thing that people take for granted.
So here you cannot con easily, right?
Yeah.
And then people are very open for value.
Yes.
Right? Again, a very relationship-driven market, right? If I start working for you, I'm not going to switch my vendor for $10 less or $20 less.
Yeah.
Right? But again, I will not blindly work with you, even if you are taking me for a ride also. I'm open for suggestions, open for innovation.
I love it.
Something
You see, the thing I find very refreshing about you, and I relate to it, is you're a utopian. You're a very positive person. Because I find there are some people that I meet that are very negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to avoid those people because after a while, it can wear off on you. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's be positive.
Again, that is something you learn from therapy.
Yeah.
Right? Coaching or therapy. It gives you a lot of insights about who you are as a person. Right? Because generally what happens is when you are living in an environment, the environment starts dictating you how you live your life rather than who you are as a person.
Yes.
Right? And then when therapy makes it obvious that this environment is not who you are, or these are the people who are not resonates with your personal particular value, then you can actually change it. Right. And a couple of weeks back, I was having this actual conversation with my therapist saying that, you know what, my daughter has gone to college now, business is at a certain level. And then the certain version of Rishi Khare that used to exist amount before is no longer relevant. Right? That person was chasing money, that person was chasing fame, that person was chasing validation, that person was chasing stability. I don't resonate that with anymore. Right? So I am going to rewrite my character
Love it.
as an author.
Yes.
Right? I'll sit and write in a book
Yes.
that there is this person, and I closed down my eyes and imagined, right, how this person lives his life now.
Yeah.
Right? I have never focused on my physical fitness now. And one of the reasons to move to Singapore is that because Singapore, you don't have to put an effort to become fit.
Yeah.
Makes you fit by default.
Do you think?
I love it, right? I mean, everyone is so slim and trim and well built here.
think?
Yeah.
I don't think. I think into the contrary. I think most Singaporeans are not fit. I
Okay.
think they're slim. Right.
Well, for me, slim is the definition of fit, right?
True,
because
true. I
in
get
India, my mom feeds me, my wife feeds me
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much that, we get bellies
Listen,
and
my
stuff like
mother-in-law
that.
brings me food all the time.
All the time,
But
same here.
I hear what you mean. I know what you mean.
Because we get to walk a lot,
Yeah.
right? You take public transport, you need to walk a lot, right? And the culture allows you to walk a lot. And then if you want to walk, the environment is so refreshing.
Isn't it funny? So from where you're coming from, Singapore makes you fit. It's so interesting because like when I lived in the US, it's because it was a place called Westport, and it's a very wealthy town, and everyone was fit there. I went to the gym and there were 70-year-old men, and there's a guy with a colostomy bag. He's walking around with a colostomy bag, working out, and I thought, my God.
Yeah,
These
so
guys.
I think that is taking it to extreme, but I get that's the culture of that part, right?
That's the
So you
culture.
have a culture, right? There are certain places in certain cities there is a very high running culture.
Yeah.
So if you just hang out with
You
that
do.
crowd, you'll
It
end up
changes.
becoming a marathoner in that
That's
kind of
true.
environment, right? So environment changes you, but the point I was making earlier is that you can write your own character
Yes.
at a certain phases of life. So you always reinvent yourself every decade, if not every 5 to 6 years.
You evolve.
You
know,
evolve.
Your relationship with money changes. Your relationship with your children changes as they become adults. I had this thing I said to my son. I had him on the podcast just before he turned 18. And I said, most fathers and sons have this relationship. When they're younger, they idolize their father. And then in the late teens, early 20s, they tend to demonize them.
Yeah.
And then typically when they're dead, they humanize them. And I said, I want to skip the second one, son, because I want to have a very open discussion, right? But it's not easy. Rishi, just before we wrap up, and I've loved that chat, I think we should got to do another one of these. I want to get maybe 5 takeaways that you can give any young budding entrepreneurs or people that are in business now that you have learned that they can bring back to their business tomorrow.
Okay. I think the first one is don't do it alone. Okay. I don't mean that get a co-founder, but I mean, you have to have people help you. Let them help you. Right. Don't struggle alone. It gets very lonely.
It does.
And you don't know who is out there, who can help it out to you. Set up a board, set up an advisory board, get some mentors, get some coaches.
I love that.
Get some therapy, right? Because again, I'll reiterate, business is not about building business. Business is about building you, right? If you build yourself, you can build hundreds of businesses by default. I mean, there are multiple people you would also know, right? There are people who run 10s and 20s and hundreds of businesses, each of them fairly profitable, because end of the day, it's an algorithm. Once you get a hang of it, you can do it again. It's like driving, once you know how to drive one car, you can drive many other cars very easily. And then the more you drive, the more proficient you become. So, but to learn the first driving, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone to help you out.
Love it.
Right? That will change the trajectory of your company and entrepreneurship like crazy. I mean, I wish what I did in 23, I had done in 2013. I would be doing an IPO by now or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
That is there. And then also, don't chase growth at the starting point. Don't chase scaling at the starting point.
Don't rush it.
Don't rush it at the starting point. Make sure you validate one reason why you should exist, why people should buy from you, right? And it's okay if you are just a copycat, then just be a cheaper and a better quality copycat also, right? Because there's not true innovation, right? The secret of creativity lies in hiding your sources. So basically now AI gives you a lot of advantage. The third thing I would say is don't look at AI as a fear. And this is for existing entrepreneurs more than the new entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Right? Because it took me a lot of time for me also to come out of the fear, because I write code for a living.
Yeah.
And AI is bloody good in writing code.
Yeah.
So if AI does all the coding, what will I do?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I used to get nightmares about it because it took a decade for me to build my company, and then it will vanish. But AI has been around for a while now.
Yeah.
And I'm still around.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll be around, at least my company will be around for a couple of more years, right? So point is now what we can do with AI, right? So I can do the project which used to take, tens of millions of dollars for 100 or 500K,
Yeah.
right? Something that used to build 2 years with 10 or 20 engineers, I can do it in 2 months with 5 developers.
Amazing.
Right? So the pace of innovation has changed, but fundamentals has not changed.
Yeah.
Person who knows how to do banking will never want to sit and maintain a server or code on its own. Right? You and I know how to build furniture, but we are never going to build our own furniture.
Yeah.
Right? So the world is not going to change fundamentally.
That's a good
You
analogy.
need to start learning how to use AI and how to go above in the ladder. A couple of years are going to be very turbulent, but after that it is going to be, we'll stabilize at the next level of evaluation. We will be doing a lot more interesting things, I think. The biology, for example, right? AI, and not these kinds of models, but there are different kind of models which will come where we will be able to discover drugs, cure diseases, and enhance ourselves, right? So that is one area we'll go to space. We will do a lot more deep sea research.
Yeah.
And those are a lot more exciting things rather than just doing the financial
Yeah.
transactions
The
and
processes.
reconciling and all that. So I'm very optimistic and excited about that future.
Me
actually.
too, brother. Well, Rishi, it's been a pleasure.
Same here, man.
Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom and your insights. I've learned a lot today.
Yeah, thanks. Same here. I really enjoy talking to you, and then I look
Likewise.
forward to doing more in the future again.
100%. Thanks, Rishi.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.